Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 7 of the Burnt Rubber Racing podcast. Got a big Bristol Dirt Week to recap here today. It was an exciting one. It was an eventful one. So we're going to break all of that down. And yeah, I'm Henry John. I am excited to be back for another edition of this show. Somehow we are not yet canceled, despite, I guess, my best efforts as my regular co-host, Zach McAdoo, would say. Hello, Zach. How are you today?
Just fine. It's opening day. It's a beautiful day.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. Baseball opening day. So we've got a trio of baseball fans here. I'm going to introduce the second one in just a bit. But for those watching live on the Flurry Sports YouTube or on Periscope, of course, Zach's sitting there in his Yankees jersey. I won't dive into the Yankees myself, but it looks good. So Jake Seinholz, special guest. How are you today, sir? We've been talking about having you on this show, and I know it didn't exactly happen in the fashion that we planned and hoped, but you are going to be able to bring a little bit of insight as you were in Bristol last week for the dirt race. I'm not going to ask you how it was. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to touch any
I've complained enough on Twitter. If you want to see my complaints, my whining, you can do so right on my Twitter page. But we'll skip over the fact that I went through 4 days of torrential downpours just to not see the race. So we'll just move right past that.
Yeah, there you go. The Twitter video you posted, I believe it was Sunday morning, of the two cars buried up to their windshields in the water just outside the speedway. Holy cow, man.
That was actually a van with a trailer, and it was all the way up to like mid windshield on the van, and it had the trailer completely submerged. It was some serious flooding. And then of course I wake up, we drove 14 hours home. I wake up the next day and NASCAR had put out a picture of the track just looking dry, beautiful, 72 degrees out, and everything ran. So like I said, we're just gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
He replied to the quote tweet that I had out on our show, so I thought that was funny.
Oh, I was salty, man. On Monday morning, I was in a bad mood. I spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and didn't get to see a single lap of real racing. So I was salty, that's for sure.
Isn't there like a refund policy there? I know Atlanta does that.
Yeah, you can either I guess what my buddy said they allow you to do is go to any race that you want within a calendar year at a different track, or you can come back the next time next year at Bristol. But we looked it up, and Bristol's by far the closest track. The other ones are like California, New Hampshire, Nevada, places like that. So probably just not going to get there in the next calendar year, you know? So I guess whatever, next year we already got our tickets paid for, so that's nice.
Hey, you can roll that over and say you're going to get a free race next year. We'll be positive and say that, you at least got to watch some practice. So we'll be able to ask Jake a little more about the practice runs that he was able to take in Friday before Tennessee got washed out there Saturday and Sunday. And, we will dive into recapping the Bristol Dirt Race. I think we got some conflicting viewpoints on our thoughts for, how it kind of played out and everything between Zach and I know for sure. But, Jake, just to give the audience a little bit more of a background on you, you are a writer and you do several different shows for Flurry Sports, especially active during the football season, hosted a couple of the fantasy football live streams we were doing last year. And I know there's going to be some more coming up with that this coming fall. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But big into the sports betting. So, we don't have a race this week, unfortunately, to preview and talk about picks and whatnot. But we are planning to kind of look back at the preseason futures and dive into how some of those lines have moved and maybe where some value is after the first 7 races here. So it'll be fun to get your takes on those. But anything else you want to share with the audience as far as your background in sports and betting?
Well, first of all, before we go any farther, I want to say thank you guys for having me on. As people probably know or will know throughout this podcast, I'm a relatively new NASCAR fan in general. I watched when I was very young, so my uncle was a huge fan, but then I probably didn't watch a single lap of racing for maybe 15 years. And I've just recently got back into it the last few years. So thank you guys for having me on. I'm definitely excited to learn a lot more from you guys and get deeper into the world of racing. But as far as my background, I think you kind of hit it. I started in radio like 9 years ago at this point, kind of parlayed that into a TV and a play-by-play job. And then as Zach brought me on as a writer, started hosting and stuff for him. And then I met you, did a few shows together with you, and hopefully going to have some more stuff in the works throughout the summer as well as heading into next fall. But yeah, everything I do gets posted on my Twitter. That's my main my main platform. So if you end up liking me after this 45 minutes, hour, however long it is, head on over to Twitter. You can toss me a follow at Sunholes on Sport.
Awesome stuff. Well, we are looking forward to having you aboard and talking a little bit of racing here on this baseball opening day. It seems to make sense, right? Couple of just quick off the top announcements before we do dive into it. I feel like I butchered the intro to this show big time. But anyways.
Is that why we went from 11 viewers to 2, Henry?
That's kind of typical. You know?
Yeah.
They pop in and out during the stream, but the main purpose, of course, is the audio podcast, which I do want to remind you, we're literally available anywhere you get your podcasts. So subscribe, follow Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And then we're also a part of the new Flurry Sports Podcast Network. Season 2 of the Flurry Sports Podcast just launched last week, and we are on there. A segment, couple segments of Burnt Rubber Racing is on the Flurry Sports Podcast Network every Friday. So if you want an abbreviated version of the show, kind of the highlights, normally it's betting and DFS advice. This week, we're going to kind of have to play it by feel, I guess, maybe what the best segments are of this show, given that we don't have a race with it being Easter weekend. So, but yeah, definitely check out the Flurry Sports Podcast, and that's available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Let's jump into it, guys. I think we've said enough here of the intro. Cup Series Bristol Dirt recap. Joey Logano getting the win, overtime finish, the green-white checkered flag, OT finish that so many NASCAR fans, including myself, have come to love. Logano kind of pulled away with it, though, in the end. He wasn't running out front for the majority of this race early on, and really even throughout the latter half as well. I guess, Zach, I'm going to jump to you first. Your overall general reactions, summation to the first NASCAR Cup Series race we have seen on dirt in over 50 years here. Where did you come down? Entertainment value, what you noticed? Give us your opening thoughts here as we dive into this recap.
So I was thinking about this last night because I knew you were going to ask me this, but so from a casual fan standpoint, like not die hard, just like we'll watch it every now and then, I thought it was a good race. You can't, like, from the standpoint of the actual racing on track and the cautions and whatnot, yeah, that was a good race. From the actual diehard standpoint of me, who has to see beyond that, it wasn't the problems that were happening wasn't worth the on track stuff. The fact that the tires were wearing within 50 laps and they had to do non-competitive pit stops. I didn't like that. I didn't like how you had a lot of cars overheating. Like Kyle Busch had to pit 2 laps into the race. That shouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. And it was just major problems, in my opinion. And I feel like it could be worked out in the future, but Bristol's not going to keep the dirt on there. That's the thing. If you're going to work these kinks out, you're going to have to keep at it, and they can't do that with Bristol. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this works out next year.
Yeah, for what Zach is referencing, of course, Bristol Motor Speedway and NASCAR announcing during the race, actually, I think it was between stages, that they are going to run the Food City Dirt Race again at Bristol next spring. So this is not a one-off. They're making the decision to bring the race back.
That makes me happy.
There you go. So you're going to get your money's worth in the end, Jake.
Good. Finally. Maybe some decent weather, too. Who knows?
No,
it can't get much worse, I don't think, than this weekend down there.
Listen, sure. Bristol in March or late March, early April is constant rain, it feels like, with NASCAR.
Yeah, I think my thoughts on this weekend my initial thoughts before we got to racing, when we got pushed from the truck race first got pushed back, then the Cup race and the truck race got moved from Sunday to Monday. My initial thoughts were NASCAR just can't catch a break with these weather gods, man. Like Daytona 500, I feel like every year we're finishing the race on a Monday or like in the middle of the night, like we were this year. Talladega last year, they had rain and had to run on a Monday. It's all these big races that we get all so hyped for, and then we're running them a day late. Like, is it just me?
Look, if we get the finish that we had for the 500, by all means, I'll wait all night. I don't care, but I would rather. I think this is where the NASCAR fans are split. Like, would you rather have them race Monday, a full race, or just get halfway on Sunday? Which I'm team race on Monday. I don't care. I want a full race.
Yeah, I hear you. I enjoyed the 500, I think, being run at night this year. I don't know. There was a little bit of aesthetic appeal maybe for me there. Maybe it was just a good way to end the day, even though I was dog tired by the end of it. And then, of course, Zach and my heart rates are going through the roof, so couldn't fall asleep for an hour after. With the finish we had, Michael McDowell didn't wreck him. I've said my piece. Jake, I want to jump to you, though. Obviously, kind of rehash that you weren't there for the race with it being delayed. What parts of the race, I guess, were you able to catch? Were you traveling home on Monday? And then if you weren't able to take in the race in full, just kind of your overall thoughts and reactions before the rain hit to the track. You were there, and from the videos and pictures you were sharing, it looked pretty amazing.
Yeah, I took a panorama picture. It's one of the coolest pictures I think I've ever taken. And I put out on the Twitter there that, I don't know, I'm an idiot. And I said that I thought Lambeau Field was as big as Bristol Motor Speedway. And it's actually Motor Speedway is twice as big. So I felt like a moron there. But then I took this panoramic and I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this place is gigantic. So it was very, very cool inside. The first few days were dusty as can be. Like, nothing. All the drivers were complaining a ton. I know Haley Deegan. I didn't see any of the truck series, but she got like 2 laps in and was saying it wasn't worth it. She wasn't feeling comfortable. And this is somebody who I know has like grown up racing dirt pretty much her whole life, has a history of dirt in her family. And she was all like, I don't even want to be out there. So it was pretty bad in the opening days. But then obviously a ton of rain. I did get to see the different what do you call them, like that, not the qualifying heats, but whatever they did on Saturday, I believe that was. I did get to see those. They ran and it was a lot less dust, a lot less commotion in there. But man, the track was beautiful. And I kind of just what I noticed was a lot of the favorites in the big name from the Cup Series were struggling in the trucks. They were all on the back end, kind of back half. Which I guess is kind of typical. They're not, they're used to driving the Cup cars. But it was a lot of fun overall. I ended up placing, I think, 5 bets, and I hit 3 of them. So I really wish I could have gotten on with you guys to do like my betting preview. I'm a fan of Joey Logano. I didn't find many other fans of Joey Logano while I was down there. To me, it seemed like Kevin Harvick was the #1 guy in that area. I don't know. Does he have like a Tennessee connection at all or anything? Because it was Harvick everywhere.
Not that I know of, and I'm the Harvick guy.
Okay.
Usually you go to a racetrack, it's Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr., like the top 2, I want to say.
Yeah, I saw no Truex Jr. like anywhere. I saw a lot of Kevin Harvick. I saw even some Blaney, some Ryan Blaney, which is surprising. I saw a lot of his shirts. But anyway, I like Joey Logano. 2 years ago when I went, so it's 2019. He led the race for a large portion of time, ended up giving it up right at the end with a few laps to go. Of course, Kyle Busch won that race. So I was like, Logano's going to get it back because they didn't, or maybe they did run. Did they run last year just with no fans? I think they did, right, in Bristol.
Yeah, the first race
like over the summer.
But I missed that race. So I was like, I think Logano's going to have himself a good weekend. I also like Denny Hamlin a lot. So I bet on Denny Hamlin top 5. I bet Kyle Busch top 5. And then I only bet Logano to win. I don't know why why I didn't take him top 5, but I ended up hitting a winner, and then I ended up hitting the Denny Hamlin and no, that was the only 2. So I guess I went 2 for 5. Actually, I thought I went 3 for 5. But anyway, it was a beautiful weekend. I had a lot of fun when the sun was out. Beautiful track, I should say. The weekend itself. was not so pretty. But yeah, just I don't know. Had a feeling that those big names, they were struggling with in the trucks, but ended up going somewhat chalk in the top couple racers in the Cup cars.
Yeah, a little bit. We'll dive into that some more. Logano, I think, a bit of a surprise for a lot of people to win the race. So, Jake, your hunch was a little different than some of us who were leaning towards dirt racing experience being such a key factor.
And that's what everybody said to me going into it, and I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know these guys' histories very well. I don't know, this and that. I like Logano. He raced well the last time I saw him here, so I'm going to take him. I put way more money on Denny Hamlin, but I ended up going 1 for 1, kind of broke even with him. So,
well, Hamlin was right there too at the end. Two guys who weren't there at the end, though, Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson. Bell running up front early in this race, got around Zach, and Kyle Larson, he wound up collecting him when he came around the turn as well. So both of the favorites, Christopher Bell, the wreck ended his day, and then Kyle Larson, who was the odds-on favorite, and of course has been so strong early this season, it just kind of took him out of contention to win. He fell a couple laps down. I want to say he did finish the race.
Yeah,
or am I wrong? Yeah, he did. Car was just banged up, though. They had to continuously work on that when they were coming in for the pit stops. Finished up a disappointing weekend for him after he wrecked out of the truck race as well. And a lot of people, including us both, had our sights set a lot higher for these two. Your thoughts on the wreck, and then I guess when that goes down, it's a wide open race, right?
Yeah. So if you read my article for DFS last week, I said put Larson and Bell, at least one of them, in your lineup. I had both. So Bell got me 2.9 points. No, Bell got me 2.9 points, and Kyle Larson got me 22.8. So those were my worst two that I had, and I thought they would do better. But yeah, once that wreck happened, you knew that it was anyone's race, really. And so at that point, it's just like who takes it over? Is it going to be one of the other dirt guys who doesn't have as much experience as those two, or is it going to be Martin Truex Jr., who, well, I won't spoil it, but he raced well in the truck race.
He did race well.
By the way, Larson finished 29th, and I heard one thing I learned about DFS, NASCAR DFS. So he changed engines, I believe, so they booted him to the back of the pack, and he doesn't.
They don't change your starting position.
Right, so from like 30 or whatever all the way up to like 3 or 4, wherever he was supposed to be starting, you didn't get any points from that. Correct?
No, you lose points because he was supposed to start in the pole, and when he gets sent to the back, he will start 30. I think he started like 37th or something like that. So he's starting in negative because the points lost. I mean, the position's lost.
So why did you not take him out of your lineup? Did you just feel he could still like make up that much ground and end up winning, or like you somewhere else?
I mean, if you go back and look at before the competition cost, he was top 5, and he started all the way from 30th. So for him to do that in 50 laps, I thought, like, yeah, that just proves to me, like, that's why I picked him, because he's great on dirt, and he probably had the car to beat, if not for Christopher Bell losing talent.
Makes sense.
I mean, in theory, it's not smart to pick a guy like that, but if like, some of these races are 500 miles, so they're gonna make it up, no sweat.
Yeah, of course, this race getting shortened half the distance of the normal Food City 500, which was 500 laps, only running 250 on the dirt. We can discuss some more of the changes they made here in just a bit. Zach kind of did spoil it. Martin Truex Jr. goes on and wins stage 1. This guy has charity races in his background on dirt. That's it. And he's out here having himself a weekend. Didn't want any adjustments at the competition caution when they came into pit. And he continued running well into the beginning part of the second stage. And then Daniel freaking Suarez, another guy who has next to no background on dirt, he got around him for the lead and led the majority of stage 2. Zach, this just kind of carries on what we've kind of been talking about the past couple of weeks with this Trackhouse Racing 99 team. I'm beyond impressed. I somewhere I feel like Suarez is going to pull out a win this year. Like I'm not even I'm going beyond top 10s, top 5s at this point. I feel like this team can win a race. I don't know where it's going to happen. It might be somewhere we wouldn't expect it. We've seen a couple of those this year for sure, including this one, but man, I continue to be impressed with Daniel Suarez and this new race team.
Look, I told you last week that the dirt is going to be a good equalizer for all these guys, and I don't know how Suarez pulled this out of his butt. I'll be correct here, but he came to the lead and he came to play it Sunday. No, not Sunday, Monday, excuse me. But Trackhouse has been impressive the last 2 or 3 weeks here. But I don't see him getting a win this year. I think that they'll definitely build on momentum, but it's not happening this year.
Man, you disappoint me. I want more winners, man. We got 7 and 7 races. Keep them coming.
Look,
this is great stuff.
I like Suarez. I really do. I have one of his diecast from his Xfinity Series championship. I didn't want him to see him leave the 19 or the 41, but I don't see it happening this year.
Well, I guess we'll have to see. But stage 2, we saw another big get together here of cars. There were a few different incidents throughout the race. Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, and our Daytona 500 winner Michael McDowell all involved in a front stretch. Zach, you put here in the rundown parking lot, and that's pretty much what it was. Blaney had a tire go down. Now, did that cause it, or was that a result of it? Because I know they had to do some significant work on the left rear of that car, and he was driving around without the left rear panel for the remainder of the race. But they did recover. For the most part, these guys recovered and had solid days. Blaney did finish 8th. Kyle Busch 17th, Alex Bowman 22nd, and McDowell, I skipped right over him, in 12th there. So it didn't knock any of them out, but kind of, I guess if any of these guys were going to have a shot at winning the race, it might have taken that away from them. And I do want to bring up another talking point on Busch here in just a second, going back to something Zach said earlier, but your thoughts on this little mishap there in stage 2.
Well, this is significant for the part that is about to come. I won't ruin it yet, but the next bullet point that we have here in the NASCAR and the notes here. But yeah, I like the term parking lot because that's what Mike Joy always says, and that's pretty much what it is, because you have to come to a complete stop to make sure that you don't hit anybody. And yeah, with Blaney, hey, I don't know how he'd about to finish 8th to that car. You go and look at the pictures of the left rear there. It's just it's a miracle how we got that.
Yeah, so the NASCAR.com, the photo gallery from the Bristol Dirt Race, highly recommend going and checking it out. They've got like almost 100 different pictures, I think, and they're good images too from the wrecks and whatnot of this weekend. And Ryan Blaney's right in the first 10. That car, man, like you said, kudos to them for rallying for the finish they did. The point I wanted to bring up about Kyle Busch, Zach mentioned how he overheated there in the first 2 laps. That was something that jumped out to me right away. The Gibbs drivers, so Busch being one of them, and I can't remember if it was Stewart Haas or another team, I noticed it too, were collecting dirt there on the grill. I think it was sticking to the grill. Hendrick Motorsports had something down pat right at the beginning of this race where, they were getting dirt caught up on the front bumper. It wasn't affecting the grill. And I think, we talk about Kyle Larson surging into the top 5 there in the first stage like he did coming from the rear. The Hendrick cars all looked strong. Byron was near the front at the beginning. Bowman was up there as well. So in terms of, I guess, overall preparation, that was something else that stood out to me is Hendrick had a formula to kind of kick the dirt off the grill. And you're dying to say more, so I'll let you go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, so that goes back to Friday at practice, that's what I think he was talking about earlier, what they saw. But Larson had a problem. He had to switch his engine. That's why he went to the back. And that's when Hendrick learned, okay, we can't do this. We have to do something else. And that's why they didn't have as much trouble, I want to say. But
Jake, did you see when you were there on Friday, Larson's problem there with the 5 car? Or were you able to see that part of it and how it went down?
I did not pick up on it, but my buddies were talking about it, and they were the ones that told me he had to change engines and stuff. I was watching a few things that I picked up on, just random things from practice. Was is there a way to bet on like a person finishing outside of a certain like top 10 or top 20 or something? Because I was looking to fade Kurt Busch, but I couldn't find a bet. He just didn't run well all weekend in practice. He just couldn't get his car going, nothing. So I kind of picked up on smaller things that I could like notice like that. But as far as what happened with Larson, no, I didn't really see any. Can't give you really inside information on that.
Yeah, Kurt Busch, to your point, only finished 16th, so kind of an average day.
Which is better than I thought he was going to, because like practice, he did not look good. The car just looked slow. He was coming off the track a lot. I was also concerned with Hamlin because he was coming off the track about every third lap, it seemed like. But he posted, I think, the second best and the fourth best times. So I wasn't too worried about him. Ended up betting on him anyways. But those are the two biggest things that I noticed as far as practice. Again, I'm sort of uneducated here, so I didn't really know what to be looking for in practice. But yeah.
Well, hey, that's why we're here. We're trying to kind of give some new racing fans and even the experienced ones a little bit of pointers on what to watch for, what to look for when betting and doing DFS picks here this season. So back to the race itself. Zach, you and I, neither of us can remember ever seeing this. Mid-race, NASCAR makes the decision to change the restart format from the traditional inside-outside to single file. I'm assuming you've probably dug into this a little more than I have as far as the reasoning behind it. They ran the double line restart all the way through the truck race before this. It was dusty for the trucks, but it was dusty for the Cup too. I don't know what to make of this, to be honest with you. I think it's interesting that it came mid-race, and that's something, I guess, for me personally, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that.
No, and I wasn't a big fan of it when I said it either. I mean, this is the first time since 2010 that we've seen a single file restart. I want to say I don't know why. Yeah, but I don't like changing these things up like this in the middle of the race. No, you run the whole race how it's been. You can't it's like taking your ball and going home almost. It's like, I understand you're trying to not cause as many wrecks, but you're still changing the game, and it's not how it should have been.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Now, there were a lot of factors kind of coming into this race and causing wrecks. We had the dust was flying, like we've talked about. Jake said that was pretty bad even on Friday when they were just running practice laps there. I thought overall the track crew did a great job of preparing the surface, but it's the first year you're running this thing, and the dust is going to be a factor. Let's just face it. That's dirt racing. Then you have the blinding sun to it. Coming out of turn 3 as that was going down later in the afternoon, kind of middle of the Cup race, so not much as much of a factor for the trucks as it was still high in the air. But some of these onboard cameras, was it the Blaney pileup? They were riding on board with somebody, but you couldn't see anything. You could not see the car in front of you between the sun, the dirt, and that's something that you're going to have to think about, I think, if you're going to bring this race back next year. And I'm sure, Zach, you agree, and Jake, even you have to agree. I mean, you saw the dust, and if you can't see 2 feet in front of you, can't see where you're going, it's kind of hard to race, especially on short track and a dirt track.
Yeah, and it also felt, because we had the headsets and stuff, so we were listening to everybody, all the crews and everything, and it almost felt like
a lot of complaining there.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it almost felt like that was the only thing anybody could be concerned. Like the race was secondary, the positioning was secondary. Like, they were only talking about the dust and the fact that they couldn't see. And so I don't recall too many people being like, I feel uncomfortable or anything. I think only really Haley said that during practice, but they were only talking about the sight difficulty versus anything else in the race. So it was definitely a huge factor.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to what I said earlier with at Bristol, you can't really work out these kinks because it's a concrete track and they put dirt over top of it for temporary time. Like, now, if they went to an actual dirt track, yes, they can work out these kinks and and make sure we need this much water, this like the tires wear after this amount of laps, like this is like they could get it down to almost an exact science. They can't do that here because, like I said, it's temporary. You're going to have it for what the dirt's been up and raced on for 2 weeks. It's not enough time.
Had all the
it was getting
and all that there last weekend, so
it was getting black quick too. You know, they you show up, the dirt looked perfect, and then boom, couple laps in, it looks like blacktop again. So I mean, the tires were rubbing off like crazy.
I had someone to ask me if that was the track showing up, and I was like, no.
So that
no.
I thought that for about half a second, and I was like, no, there's no way, because I know they've literally been talking about how many feet of dirt they put down. So like, no, that's just a stupid thing to think. But then they literally announced it over the loudspeaker. So I don't know if that shows like there's a lot of new people getting into it, or there was just a lot of like rookie fans that were intrigued by the idea of dirt. But they literally announced over the loudspeaker, the guy who I can't remember, he's the Bristol announcer, PA announcer. Can't remember his name, but he does a great job along with like Jose, whatever his last name is, Costello or whatever. I liked them both. They're pretty entertaining. But anyway, he was like, I'd like to address something that people are hitting me up about on social media. No, that is not the regular track. He's like, if we were down to the concrete, we would be in big trouble here. So that is just the rubber coming off. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not the only one who thought it for a second, but.
Yeah, apparently they didn't read my overview, because in my overview I said there's like 5 or 6 different layers of the track. So
right. Well, and literally they played the whole montage of them like building the track and stuff, and you can see literally it's just piled up so high. So it's like, no, I don't think like 50 practice laps is going to eliminate all that dirt. But it was just funny that you mentioned that, because they literally announced it over the loudspeaker.
Yeah, hey, some NASCAR fans probably novice dirt fans, so I guess I'm not gonna totally kill anybody for asking that question, but I mean, come on here. If we're going to be running on 2 different surfaces, that's going to be a major problem.
Yeah.
And
interesting,
also, concrete showing up, it kind of defeats the point of a dirt race, doesn't it? So, but anyways, single file restarts. Neither of us, Zach or I, a major fan. Plus, it really kind of gives the advantage to the guy on the pole. I would say he's the only one starting in clean air and doesn't have dirt flying in his face. So clean air is going to be a thing at any track. Like, let's just say, we're going to switch the rules up mid-race and do single file at, I don't know, Las Vegas. Clean air is going to be a thing. But here, you don't have dirt in your face either. Definitely an interesting decision by NASCAR there for sure. Daniel Suarez, he led the vast majority of Stage 2 and unfortunately did not get the stage win for all us 99 troopers out here. Joey Logano gets by him with about 10 to go in the stage, and I'll say it, he stole the Stage 2 win. We go to the final stage. Of course, we got these single file restarts. Final stage this week too. The only race all year where it's going to be shorter than the first and second stages because of the need to do these cautions with 50
tire
laps
problem.
Every 50
say what
laps.
it is. There's the tire problems. That's the only reason why it was like this. And NASCAR needs to do better. NASCAR and Goodyear need to put a tire together that doesn't wear that fast on this track. I'm pissed about this, so I'm going to go off.
Well, we'll look forward to that. Chime in if you don't mind your thoughts on the non-competitive pit stops, because I don't remember seeing that in the recent future or recent past, I should say, if ever in NASCAR. We're used to guys flying over the wall and doing these quick changes, and here we're sitting on pit road and we got 5 minutes per stop, and it's like slow motion down there. So it was honestly wild to watch. Your thoughts on that? And Jake, I don't know if you want to chime in here, you can as well, but I'm just curious to hear what Zach saw, because definitely was not what I'm used to. You have pit stops where you're just trying to get in and out as quick as you can, and this week we had full-on adjustments happening.
So in Cup, I remember it happening last year at Darlington when they returned, and that's because they had to make sure everything was okay and safety reasons. But NASCAR said it's going to be a thing at all the standalone races for Xfinity and trucks. That was going to happen last year if not for COVID. So it was something that was going to happen, and I I don't like it in all honesty because you should be able to gain positions up pit road. It's not something that should be like, hey,
Isn't
yeah,
that part of the sport.
yeah, yeah. But the thing is, with my thing, apparently it goes hand in hand with saving money for the teams. I don't know how.
Well, I can sort of tell you how. When you're not going over the pit wall and you don't need guys going a million miles an hour in a competitive pit stop. Now, I don't know if this was true in the Cup race, but I know for a fact in the truck race they didn't even have their normal pit crews there. It was straight up mechanics and guys who are just in the garage working on the car on a daily basis going over the wall because they had that time. They could take their time, make adjustments, and anyone can. If they have the time, put a lug nut on correctly. Yeah. Not everyone can do it in, I don't even know, probably less than a second in a normal pit stop when you're in and out in 10 to 15 seconds max. So that's how it saves money. But I'm with you guys. I don't understand why we would, if this is going to be a full on switch, which I don't think we're anywhere near that. But I didn't even like it just in this one-off. You're taking away an element of the competition, in all honesty. Jake, did you have something you wanted to add?
The only thought I would have is you said it was 5 minutes, right? And the average time around Bristol, I think, for one lap is 20 seconds. So you're talking about, that's a lot of time to be in the pit. Essentially you could get 15 laps done within your pit stop. It just seems like a lot of time to me.
Yeah, now, was pit road closed for the stages in between these competition cautions, Zach? Or was it obviously if you had an incident, you could go down and get repairs. Were you allowed to just pit if something came up that didn't
You couldn't get tires. You couldn't get tires unless you cut a tire, I believe.
Gotcha. So it was definitely interesting for sure. And it takes an element of strategy, I would say, out of the race too. But of course, when the shelf life of these tires on the dirt track is predetermined to be 50 laps, this was a weekend unlike any that I think we've ever seen. We can agree on that. So some interesting twists. Stage 3, Bubba Wallace. I threw him in the article at 40-1 to kind of come out of here with a win. Won the truck race on dirt at Eldora back in 14. He was running top 10. I liked him there too. Spun around, had a tire go down. No caution. He was able to get it to pit road, but pretty much ended his day right there. So a little bit of a disappointing finish for the 23-11 team, who I thought otherwise ran pretty strong.
Wallace, yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
No, let August go first.
I was just going to say I don't know what changes he made between the first and second practice session, but it seemed like significant ones. He was way, way, way towards the back of the pack in the first practice, and then he ended up posting a pretty good time. Might have even been right around top 5 in the second. So whatever they did to his car ended up working out for the better. Yeah.
So I was going to say, this is the momentum that they needed going forward, and it was just taken away in one fender in one lap. And like you and I both liked Bubba last week. Like I put him in my DFS. You said you put him in your article. He had I put in mine that he's a former dirt winner. So I liked him this week, and it almost worked.
So close, yet so far away. Joey Logano, though, he gets the win in overtime. Denny Hamlin was right there with him. Then Hamlin tried to make the high line work toward the end of this race.
I was going to ask you about that.
It was pretty worn out by that point. Of course, when you get the track groomed at the stage break with 50 to go, he was able to make it work early on in the final stage. Not so much toward the end, and on the overtime restart, it didn't work out either. He sailed up the track. Ricky Stenhouse actually got by him for second. Zach, just want to remind you who liked Ricky Stenhouse on this show last week. The dirt track background there might not have paid off for Bell and Larson this week. Stenhouse, though, solid second place finish. I would love to see him go to victory lane. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. But yeah, your guys' thoughts on the end of this race, Jake? I know you want to ask about Hamlin running high, so maybe if you want to throw a question, and Zach will break down his thoughts more after.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, it was more of an observation. Like, obviously, he was making the push for first, but I think it ultimately cost him that second place spot as well. He just looked kind of like a loner out there, way against the wall. Everybody else was on the inside, basically right in a line, and Hamlin's just hanging out over there by himself. And then he ended up working back into second briefly, and then ended up, getting taken over ultimately for that third place finish. But I don't know. I don't really have a question more so than, like, is it always worth it in your guys' mind to, try and make that first place push, even if it's going to cost you a spot or two ultimately?
So I believe so. Yeah. I mean, he's up there looking for moisture, looking for the grip to get around Nagano, looking for the high side momentum. And I think Henry will agree with me when I say the high line works a lot, because we both, I mean, I'll be the first one to say I'm a huge Reddick fan, and he likes that high side, and he has made it work. So, but going forward, trying to get to the first, it's five playoff points if you get the win. Second place doesn't get those points. Third place doesn't get those points. So he put it on the line, and it didn't work out for him, and he lost position. And in the grand scheme of things, it's 1 point, 1 season point that he lost. Going for, instead of trying to get the 5 extra points in the 5 playoff points too.
So here's another question: do these guys get paid based on finishing position, like per race, based on finishing position, or is that not really a factor? Because I equate it to like golf. I don't know. Say you're in second place right now, but you're heading into like the 17th, and you're 2 strokes behind. So you could take a couple clubs to try and bomb it, and you might end up costing yourself a stroke here or there to try and make first place. But if you drop from second or third all the way down to like 6th or 7th, you might be talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in golf there. So I don't know. Is that a factor at all in racing?
Yes, but we don't have those figures anymore. They stopped giving us like earnings in like 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is taking me back to my childhood. Every day after school, I'd come home and get the sports section of the local newspaper, read the thing cover to cover on the national sports. Didn't care too much about the high school sports, but yeah. And so when you'd have a race finish, NASCAR, IndyCar, anything, it would list the points accrued and all that, and it would list the earnings that drivers get, kind of like it did for golf. I think it still does for golf.
Oh yeah.
I don't really read the newspaper anymore, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, so you don't see those money earnings based on finish with stats anymore, which maybe better or worse, but
yeah.
So kind of a transition here, I guess we can make as we wrap up the Cup Series talk into the Truck Series. Running that high line was something that Matt Crafton tried to do for the entire Truck Series race. Of course, this took place Monday at high noon, so before the Cup Series race. And it worked for him for a while. He was running near the front, and then he kind of fell back because as the track wore off, it got slicker and slicker up there. And later in stages, just as we saw for Denny Hamlin, the high line, it just wasn't there. Crafton would continuously get up the track. I thought it was an interesting move for Hamlin. They say with dirt track racing, the less experience you have, you probably want to be running the lower line. More experienced guys will try and work the high line. So we saw Larson working the outside as he made his way up the field predominantly in the Cup race before getting into the incident. And he was working it in the trucks as well before he wrecked out. It's just some different observations kind of between the races. I feel like that's how my weekend went. I don't know, Zach, if you would agree, but I was, I'd see one thing in the truck race and then I'd see something in the Cup race and be like, oh, that's, they kind of, the observations overlap. And, when we haven't really seen NASCAR run on dirt as far as Cup Series in our lifetimes, I guess that shouldn't come as a major surprise when it's on the same track. But anything you want to jump into on the truck race? I have a couple talking points here. I've also got some a little fun audio we can play. But I'll let you dive into your thoughts first.
No, I'll wait for the audio because that's pretty much the only thing I want to talk about for the truck race. I didn't think the truck race was that great.
A lot of incidents. Stage 2 especially. It just felt like every 5 laps we were throwing out a caution flag. I really liked the truck at the end. Was it Aaron Gordon, I think, who wiped into the barrels, and the back of his truck was uplifted on the barrels, so the tire's spinning and he can't get off the barrels. So they had to red flag that. I feel like there were 3 different red flags though in this race, and that doesn't count competition cautions. One of the incidents that brought out a red flag involved the number 4 truck, I should say, of John Hunter Nemechek. Of course, he got a win a couple weeks ago at Las Vegas for Kyle Busch Motorsports, and he was running well here this weekend. And that kind of all came to a screeching halt when the aforementioned Matt Crafton got into him. Now, I'll be curious to hear what Zach thinks, whether it was racing or whether he's more in line with Nemechek's opinion. But here is Nemechek after he got out of his truck, and this is during the caution, actually. Jamie Little interviewed him at the Infield Care Center.
Under caution right now for an incident between the 4 of John Hunter Nemechek and the 88 of Matt Crafton. What exactly happened there?
I don't know. Matt just flat out ran over me, so that one will be in the memory bank. But we're fine. Didn't hit anything, and then there towards the end of that whole deal, the 19, I guess him and his spotter both need a pair of glasses, so I'll have those for him at Richmond.
So yeah, it was a bit of an interesting wreck here. We had Nemechek doing the old Kyle Busch bow to Matt Crafton after he's out of his truck. Even on the infield, he's running around trying to get his attention to give him the applause. Yep. I don't know quite what the 19 was doing to his point, other than Timmy Hill did make contact, and he must have just lost it. But to hit him with so much force after they counted actually. On the broadcast, and 18 trucks had gone by before the 19 got Nemechek, and that was what ended the day. He had spun around, but he would have been fine to continue. Zach, is this fair or foul by Crafton? We just heard it from the man himself. It's going to be in the memory bank, but what do you see coming of this in the future?
I think it's fair. I mean, yes, there's a lot of laps left, and you don't typically want to do that too early, but he moved him out of the way. Robin's racing. It's something that you just got to deal with. Now, that's not the audio I thought you were going to play. I thought you were going to play either one of their in-car radios where they had to bleep like half the stuff on just to get it on Fox. But yeah, I thought that it was interesting there. And I don't know what Derek Cross is doing. That'll be a head scratcher for months to come. But did you know? Did you happen to see the NASCAR video that they tweeted out where the safety truck hit JHN's truck?
I didn't know.
No, the safety truck was coming into the pits, and you could see it just like hit it and move.
Oh my goodness! I mean that's kind of the theme of the truck race, right? Like it was just kind of spin out after spin out, wreck after wreck. Norm Binning had a tire go down, and did he stop intentionally on the track to bring out the caution and go in and get it? I'm not positive. He was spinning out, kind of looked like he did. So everyone from John Hunter Nemechek to the 69-year-old guy there running in the back of the field, it was just endless stuff. The other thing that stood out to me from this truck race, as we talk about kind of the changes made for the dirt this week, the non-competitive cautions and whatnot, were the mistakes on pit road. So first pit stop, we have Zane Smith. Of course, we talked about it's not the regular pit crews going over the wall. And the mechanic guys that are doing it for him this week put the fuel in before the tires. That's a violation. So Zane Smith's running top 5 there early on, has to go to the back of the field, and he still rallied for a great finish. I'll have that here in a second for you. But so we saw that. Stuart Friesen on the first pit stop, dirt track regular. He was a contender to win this race. He led laps. Saved tires. They're like, all right, we're going to have an extra set for later in the race. They didn't think the track was too worn down. To his point, it looked to me, just on the surface watching from my living room, that the track did wear faster in the Cup race than it did the trucks. So I could agree with that assessment. There wasn't a whole lot of tire wear on the trucks after stage one, but he paid the price for it. He fell back because he was on older tires in the second stage. And here's the kicker. They saved tires for nothing because you couldn't come in and get tires, like Zach talked about earlier during these pit stops. So they went home with a set of sticker tires. There were a couple other teams that did that as well, I believe. Grant Enfinger was one of them. Of course, he's running part-time this year, but stayed out to try and gain position. So just some crazy stuff on pit road. I don't know if either of you guys would like to chime into that a little more. And I just want to throw out, Zane Smith did rally to finish 7th. So even though the truck was playing without a primary sponsor and they did have to drop to the back, excellent day for him, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm questioning who thought of the Stuart Friesen strategy there, because that made no sense at all. You're right. Okay, say you do save a set of tires. You're running third to begin with. What is getting two extra spots by staying out? Do you? It hurt my head just trying to think about it.
Where did he ultimately finish? Because Friesen was my only truck bet. I liked how he was running. I liked watching him in practice. I did hear that he had a pretty extensive dirt pass, so I threw a bet on him because I really didn't know anything about most of the truck drivers. Where did he end up?
Finished 12th. And so this is a guy who was leading laps early in the race, and really they never recovered from that tire decision because, of course, you can say, all right, I'm putting sticker tires on after stage 2 and I still have a set saved. Set save's not going to do me anything, and everyone else around me has sticker tires, and they just weren't able to rally.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. I do want to say one other thing going back to the Nemechek thing. I absolutely love the just the way that basically every NASCAR or race driver in general has this passive-aggressive nature that they've completely mastered. And they sound so nice and so cool coming off, but it's just, I love the passive-aggressiveness. It's like you get it in almost every single interview. I love it.
Yeah, and then you get the aggressive nature too, like we saw
that'll come out too,
Atlanta with the Xfinity, harking back to the Gregson Hemrick incident. No punches thrown this week, but
there's a threat of one. He's gonna punch him in his throat.
Yeah.
I just laugh every time you got these guys that just got the big smiles on their face. They're like, yeah, I wrecked. It was his fault, but it's all good. And then they make some snide comment about it, but they got a big smile on their face. I love it.
Go back and look up Robbie Gordon, Michael Waltrip from New Hampshire 2005, and hit that. Just Robbie Gordon's interview, just saying everyone thinks that Michael Waltrip's a good guy. He's a piece of right at live TV. It was just so perfect.
I love it. I love it. They've all mastered it. It's so great.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Finishing up some trucks race talk here. Martin Truex Jr. did get the win, dominating fashion. There wasn't really a truck, outside of maybe Ben Rhodes, that could have competed with him. Going back to the pit stop mistakes there, I would have loved to see what Zane Smith could have brought to the table had he been at the front all day. I think that the 21 truck was very fast as well. Rhodes finished second. Rafael Lazard finishing third. I couldn't get over his post-race interview. He was just so happy. Jamie Little asked him one question. He went into a whole monologue about his race. So that was really cool to see. Best finish for them this year. Todd Gilliland in 4th, and then another Cup driver in Chase Briscoe rounding out the top 5. Interesting, Bubba Wallace and Kevin Harvick didn't crack the top 10. Daniel Suarez down there in 17th. But again, Kyle Busch Motorsports, the 3rd straight win for them. Nemechek, Busch himself, and then Truex this week. Kind of set the stage for what we saw early on in the Cup race where Truex ran well. Any other thoughts on this race, the Piney's dirt race? Is that what it was called? Piney's dirt race. Pinty's, sorry. Yeah, my vowels suck all the time. But any other thoughts from the dirt race weekend from either of you guys? And then we'll kind of move into some other stuff we have planned to to wrap things up for this week's show.
Nah, I'm ready to get this out of the rearview mirror.
Yeah, I same. I obviously wish I would have seen the race, but from what I caught on TV and just the overall experience, I'll say it was worth it. Yeah, we'll say it was worth it. We'll leave it at that.
I have to agree with Zach. I'd like to see them, if they're going to continue dirt, to do it at a real dirt track.
Is there any? I wanted to ask you guys: is there any possibility of doing it at doing this at a long track, or does it only work because Bristol's a short track? Like, could you do? Obviously, like Daytona is the one long track that I know, but could you do it at a track like that, or is that just way too much dirt and too many problems?
I don't. You'll probably never see it at Daytona because the banking is way too high. I feel like.
Yeah, they said that as well. They went down to I don't know what the regular banking is at or regularly in Bristol, but I think they had it at 19 this past weekend, if I remember that.
Yeah, so I think Bristol's 30 degrees banked in the corners usually, and it was 19 for the dirt. So you talk about 11 degrees difference. I don't know how you're gonna make that up for Daytona, which is like 31 degrees banked.
And also, you wouldn't want to take out like a track that long.
No, hell no.
Dirt for that. So dirt tracks are shorter in general, right? So, I mean, a Bristol, a Martinsville, those would be kind of the only places you could really do it if you were going to convert a NASCAR track like that. And even so, the amount of dirt that they had to bring in was just absolutely insane. I think that's kind of where.
Go ahead.
What's
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that's kind of where Zach and I are in agreement of, if you're going to do this going forward, doing it at a regular dirt track. You have guys who know how to work that surface and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And maybe some of the things that we saw kind of go awry this weekend could be avoided. Now, granted, it was year one. We'll see what it looks like, I guess, next year because we're getting it again. But, interesting all around.
So I was told on Twitter that Tony Stewart offered up his track. Is that true? And is that what you're talking about? Like he's got a real legit dirt track? And how close is it to Bristol even? Does any of you guys know any of these things?
He owns Eldora. It's Sandusky, Ohio, I want to say. Also,
not that close.
But that's where the trucks raced from 2013 to 2019. But there's some rumors out there that it was too expensive to keep racing there, so they like, yeah, screw you. We're gonna go to Bristol and Knoxville.
I see.
Yeah, Tennessee's doubling down with dirt races for the trucks this year. So, at any rate, like Zach said, we're gonna put Dirt Weekend in the rearview mirror now. I'm sure it'll come up again next week when we have to preview the next race. But moving on here this week. Like we said, I think off the top of the show, no races this weekend. NASCAR typically off for Easter. So happy Easter to all of you listeners as well. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully some good weather and some good family time as well. No races. The next 5 for the Cup Series after this. We're going to keep short track racing, but we're back, let's just say, not on dirt. Going forward, we got Martinsville coming up next weekend, followed by Richmond, Talladega, can't wait, Kansas, and then Darlington, which takes us into early May there. So those are what's up next for the Cup Series to look forward to. We covered NASCAR announcing their return of the Bristol Dirt Race for the spring race next year. Zach, was there any other news that we needed to cover this week? Chase Elliott's driving the Hooters paint scheme in the Darlington
good luck to you on a brighter side.
So that'll be fun to see. I'm thrown off here with my audio. Was there any other news while I get this fixed up on my end?
I don't think so. They're testing wet weather tires at Martinsville. I think it's either this week or next week. Kyle Larson and
Okay.
Kyle,
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher are running wet weather tires at Martinsville to see if it's viable for a option in the future. So we don't have to wait out the weather. They'll just put on the wet tires. They'll go racing at Loudon, Phoenix, Bristol, Martinsville, and Richmond.
So that'll be something to keep an eye on. And we'll kind of see what comes of that. All right. This week, we wanted to dive in and do a quick point standing update. We're 7 races in to the 2021 season. 7 different winners. Are we going to get to 16? That is the question I have to pose to Zach first. I feel like we talk about this every week, and every week we get one driver closer. And look at these names who have not won yet. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch didn't do so well last year, but he's definitely capable of winning a race. Alex Bowman, Kurt Busch, even DiBenedetto. Zach's on the record as saying he thinks he can win a race this year. Is it going to happen that we're going to see 16 different winners, and this year it's literally winning you're into the playoffs? Would we surpass 16 and maybe have a winner not make the Cup Series playoffs? Where do you stand after yet another winner at Bristol?
We say this every year. I feel like, oh yeah, we're gonna get to 16. We're gonna get to 16. I don't see it happening. It's just there's just too many. You're gonna have too many repeat winners. Like Harvick hasn't won yet, but he didn't win his first race until Darlington, which was like race 5, and then he went on to win 9 races last year. Hamlin, he won the Daytona 500, went on a lull for a little bit, and ended up winning 8 in the year. So I just feel like we're not going to see 16. You're just going to have too many repeat winners.
It'll be interesting to see for sure. Looking at the point standings as they are right now, Denny Hamlin is way ahead in points despite being one of those drivers who has not won a race. 6 top 5 finishes in the first 7. He is nearly 60 points clear of Joey Logano, who surges into second following his Bristol dirt race win. 3 top 5s for the 22 team. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski round out the top 5 in points. So again, only 3 of the top 5 even have won a race this year. Working on down, and there is a point to reading off the entire top 16 right now. William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell round out your top 10. And then we look at the final 6 that would qualify for the playoffs if the season ended today. Austin Dillon, Michael McDowell, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kurt Busch, and Alex Bowman. So those are your top 16 drivers. Zach, my reason for running over the entire list is I want to get your thoughts on the one driver who's in the top 16 right now, or if you have 2 and you really want to throw out 2, go ahead. But, I'm not going to say based on wins or points. Could be anything that knocks them out. But the 1 or 2 drivers you think are most likely to not be in the eventual playoff field that would be in it if it ended today.
Yeah, I said him last week. He proved me wrong, so he's probably going to make me eat my words again. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will not make the final 16. There's something I haven't seen the JTT Jordy, their consistency yet. They've had too many problems in years past. I do not see them making it in. You're going to see Reddick or Custer or some other mid-tier guy. We might even see DiBenedetto rebound from his terrible start and make the playoffs. We don't know yet, but I know for a fact that Stenhouse is probably not going to make the playoffs.
So you know for a fact?
He's probably not going to make.
That's a bold claim. Hey, by the way, shout out to Tyler Reddick with that BetMGM car. That paint scheme was pretty sick at Bristol this past weekend. So that was good to see. Jake, did you have a favorite paint scheme? Yeah, I know you took it in practice live. Was there a car or a couple that really stood out to you? There was some creative stuff for sure. Kevin Harvick with the dirt on his car.
Yeah, so I got to look. I can't remember his name, but his number 53. I can't remember his name, but the whole side of his car said Jacob on it, so that was pretty cool. I liked that one. And then I did see the BetMGM car. And then I don't even like Monster. I actually hate Monster as a drink, but I just like the look of Kurt Busch's like matte black car. It always catches my eye. So probably those.
Fair enough.
Oh, and some car had a Liberty University sign on the front.
Byron.
Yep.
Yeah, that also stuck out to me.
I like the Liberty car as well. So I was right there with you. I'm sure Zach is just going to say Harvick and Reddick, so I'm not going to ask him. I am going to tell you, looking at this top 16, I have to agree. Michael McDowell has a win. So, you know, as much as I'd like to say, not so sure he's going to make it, especially if we keep getting these winners like we are. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. sticks out like a sore thumb there as the guy who's not on a power team. At this point, just short in the dirt race, unless it's going to come on a tapered engine spacer track. Not sure he's going to get a win this year. So he'd be the one probably to drop from that list if I had to pick a guy as well. Now, the other end of this question here, of course, is if we're going to say Stenhouse is the most likely to fall out, which driver is going to be most likely to climb in? So to do that, let's jump down here and look at the next few in the standings as they currently are. Chris Buescher is 17th. We've seen him put together a couple of nice runs this year. Ryan Preece, Ryan Newman, Daniel Suarez, Trackhouse Racing baby, Bubba Wallace, Eric Jones is 22nd in the current standings. A couple guys who were in the playoff field of 16 last year, Cole Custer and Matt DiBenedetto. And then there's old Tyler Reddick in 25th. Zach, which of those guys would you say, one or two? I know you mentioned a couple that you think could get in. Which one's most likely, though? Is it Reddick? Is it DiBenedetto? Is it someone else for you? Or is it someone not in this list? Because I know you're kind of a Chastain guy deep down, too, and he's 26th.
I'm not saying the low-hanging fruit that everyone wants me to say right now. I'll say Chris Buescher. I feel like RFR is back. I've said that since Miami. I feel like they turned a corner there, and Buescher, if he keeps having the runs he's been having, he'll be in the top 16 in no time. He was in there, and I think he just fell out this week.
Yeah, he's right on the doorstep, 4 points behind Bowman there in 16th. I'm kind of with you. Reddick, I think, does have what it takes to win a race this year, much to my chagrin, because I know you wanted me to say that. He's going to continue to ascend the standings, I would predict. Suarez is obviously a guy I'm keeping an eye on, but Ryan Newman for RFR, I would almost take him over Buescher, and I don't really know what prompts me to say that other than I just have a soft spot for Ryan Newman. He's been at this a long time. Got him for that top 10 finish in the Bristol Dirt, came through, looked great in that race. I think the 6 has what it takes to maybe sneak in there and earn a playoff spot. So he'd be the guy I'm keeping an eye on. Zach's shaking his head. Jake, is there anyone you want to throw out there from that list that you say you're predicting a strong second? What are we? I don't know, 2/3-ish of the season.
I gotta be honest and just say I don't have anything for you here. I told you the guys that I like already, so I'm gonna be cheering for them, and that's pretty much what I got.
Well, hey, you don't have to have anything for us here, because next up we do want to dive into some championship futures odds. So a little betting talk is going to be right up Jake's alley, and that's kind of why we're doing this. With no race this weekend, no picks really to throw out, we thought it'd be kind of fun to revisit the preseason futures and then dive into maybe how those lines have moved a little bit and see if we can't find a little value after these first 7 races. So the preseason futures article that I wrote up on Flurry Sports, we referenced the odds at MyBookie, so we'll keep it there as far as movement for where they stand now. And I broke it into tiers so we can kind of just buzz through these different tiers quickly, which, I wrote this article couple months ago, but kind of works out nice that I did that. Tier 1 was the favorites. Kevin Harvick was 5-1 before the season began. Kyle Busch 6-1. Logano 6-1. Defending champion Chase Elliott 5-1. Hamlin 5-1. And Martin Truex Jr. was 7-1. So we hop over and look at the current odds now. A lot of them are longer for these guys, and we have only Truex and Logano have won races so far this year. Interesting kind of to see Logano's odds up to 8-1 from 6-1, given that he has won a race. Truex is holding at 7-1. But all four of the drivers who have not won a race in this group, their odds are longer than they were before the season began. Harvick, Hamlin, and Elliott are now all plus 650, and Busch is 8-1. From that tier, look at what we've seen through these first 7 races. Zach, who would be your championship futures pick?
I honestly am going to go with, it's going to pain me to say this, Joey Logano. I feel like he's done it before. He's won it. He's good at Phoenix. That's what it has come down to. You have to, as long as you survive at Phoenix, whoever's the best at Phoenix is probably going to win. So he's won there. He knows how to get to the Final Four. So I feel like he can get it done.
Jake, you were nodding your head in agreement. Kind of already shared how you feel about Logano, but you like the longest odds on the board there.
Yeah, man. If you're going to give me even better odds after he won a race, I mean, I'll take that all day. And I honestly have to be honest. I'm surprised. I guess I never knew there was like a disdain for Joey Logano among the racing community until I really started to get into it. Yeah, and like I don't care. I'm holding firm. I like Logano. I like watching him race. I think he makes me laugh. Kind of an asshole sometimes, which I'm a fan of as well. So, exactly what you said, Zach. Give me Logano right now. Especially you said 8-1, right? I might throw something on that right now.
8-1, second in the point standings, just bagged a win and 3 top 5 finishes. Which, other than Hamlin, the next best in terms of most top 5 finishes in the first 7 races is 3. Logano, Kyle Larson, and Brad Keselowski are all in that group.
I don't even mind the top 3. I mean, you can get Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano top 3 right now for 175 and plus 200, respectively. So I don't mind hedging a little bit with that either.
Yeah, not bad at all. Tier 2, I called this the value hotbed before the season began. And I liked Brad K at 8-1, and then I threw Alex Bowman in the article as well at 22-1. Now we're seeing some shifts here in these lines. Keselowski is still 8-1. I have to say I still like that, even though he hasn't won a race yet. Kyle Larson was 9-1, and he is now 8-1. A bit of a surprise to me that it has only dropped
1 unit. Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta like that as well. I mean, after the season that he's had early on, and I would think if he keeps winning a few more races, that's going to drop dramatically. So I don't know if you like Larson, probably should grab him now.
Well, hold on. What's coming up in the next 5 races here? Martinsville, Richmond, Talladega, Kansas, Darlington.
Yep, exactly.
You might want to do it before Kansas. Because I know he doesn't race well at Martinsville. He doesn't race too well at Richmond. Talladega, he doesn't like Tabor Spacer racing. I know he said it on the radio before. Granted, it's like 6 years ago now. But Kansas could be a turning point for his bets.
So that's an interesting theory there. You don't see him going out and necessarily winning on a short track or the super speedway. Kansas, we get back to your traditional oval racing, and that could be another one where that Hendrick 5 is the premier car in the field. So interesting advice there from Zach. Looking at the rest of this tier, Blaney is still 12-1 as he was before the season started. He's got that win, of course, in his bag now from last weekend at Atlanta. So
I'm only seeing him at plus 850 on DraftKings.
So 12-1 here then at MyBookie, where we're referencing on the show.
That's value right there.
some value relative to the market. So good that
Yeah.
we're shopping the odds. That's why we bring Jake on here and can look at a couple different offerings. Eric Almirola, rough season for them. 33-1 is now 40-1. Kurt Busch, 28-1 before the season, is now 33-1. Bowman is also up from the 22-1 that I kind of liked him at before the season began to 25-1. I mean, any of those other three, I guess we could say Blaney is a value bet that might be worth having action on if you can get in on 12-1. But Almirola, Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman, Zach, any of those stand out to you through these first 7 as maybe taking a flyer?
I'll take a flyer on Bowman. I feel like there's something going on there at Hendrick, that they're turning the corner,
Exactly.
coming back, and so Bowman might be the guy to pick.
I want Hendrick drivers. Like that's basically where I'm at through these first 7 races. And obviously Larson's great. Blaney has some values we just found out. I still like Brad K at the same price. Give me Hendrick Motorsports drivers. You know, we've seen Larson win. We've seen Byron win. We've seen Larson dominate and then just do everything but win. Bowman was running strong at Bristol. He's had some strong showings here in the past few weeks as well. That's a guy that I would be more than happy to lay some money on. And even, Chase Elliott, not as appealing, I guess, at plus 650 relative to these longer odds. But mixing it up there with those top few, again, if we're going to stick with this Hendrick Motorsports theme, they have looked the best so far. He might be worth a look as well.
Is it common when betting NASCAR to have such massive jumps when you get to that, like you said, tier 2 or tier 3? Like everybody's kind of within, plus 600, plus 900 range, but then you get plus 1,400, plus 1,600, it immediately jumps to 30-1. So is it common to see that big of a gap typically? Because these guys are, they're so far behind in the points right now, there's just really probably no way they're going to make up that space. Or why is there, you basically jump from 9-1, 2 drivers later, you're 30-1. That's a pretty big jump in my mind.
It is, I would say it is pretty common. If you even look at an individual race, you're going to have the favorites. We can talk Bristol Dirt Race from this past week. We had Larson 2-1. Christopher Bell was plus 750. Maybe had a couple guys at 9-1, 10-1, and everyone else was pretty far down the board. Now, where that would differ in terms of an individual race is with the super speedway, where it is unpredictable and you do have a more level playing field. But typically, you're going to have your favorites. Of course, these odds are all longer across the board when we're talking about a futures bet. And then you got maybe a few guys in the middle tier, and then it's kind of everyone else. So there is typically that drop off. I've gotten in the habit of just posting a screenshot of the odds when I do a race preview, and you'll see kind of the top. I don't know, what would you say, Zach? Like 8 to 10 guys are favorites or within striking distance, and then it's just everyone else. Like if you want to take a long shot, and we've seen some of those long shots win this year, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. It might be a little tougher though when we're talking about a series championship.
I mean, yeah, go back and look at the 500 where McDowell was 100-1 odds going into the race and pulls it out.
Yeah, a perfect example right there. Tier 3, as we continue on here, I had called this the long shots before the season began. At the time, I said Matt DiBenedetto 50-1 and Mr. Tyler Reddick at 80-1 were the two I liked, and I had lumped 10 different drivers in here. So we can just focus on, I guess, a few of the notable ones. I don't know that any of us are looking to back Ross Chastain for a series championship at this point. William Byron is now 16-1. Of course, he won at Homestead before the season, 35-1. So congrats to those who bet him to win the series before the season. You got some good value there now that he has a win under his belt. Christopher Bell, similar, was 45-1. He's now 20-1. Bubba Wallace was 55-1. He is now escaping my line of sight. Where is Bubba Wallace?
You have to mention it's longer than 55-1 now.
I had Wallace in front of me. He was like 80 to 1 or something. Now I lost him too.
I don't see him.
Oh, right there, 80 to 1. Yeah, 80 to 1 plus 8,000.
My bookie is missing Bubba Wallace right now. So I guess we're not betting him here, but we have Jake's odds there from DraftKings. DiBenedetto is now 66 to 1. Rough start, of course, for the Wood Brothers 21 team. And Reddick is now 100 to 1. Oh boy. Where are we going here, Zach? Who do you like?
Give me the Reddick. I'll take the long shot. Give me the long shot. I'll take, even though he's absolute. Actually, no, because he's absolute dog do at Phoenix. They need to change it. But honestly, I would maybe take a flyer on DiBenedetto because he needs to prove himself this year. And what better way to prove yourself than winning a championship? So why not maybe put $1 on him and $1 to dream? That's all it takes.
I would like to just make a PSA. If you're gonna bet NASCAR, go do it on my bookie because I've got him here at Reddick. This is 66 to 1, and you're telling me you got him at 100 to 1. That's
100 to 1.
Insane. We're talking 44 units, $44, however you want it, depending on what you're betting, however you want to phrase it. But 60 to 1 versus 100 to 1, I'd hit up my bookie.
Well, that is so the second major discrepancy. We had it with Blaney 8 to 1 versus 12 to 1. And if you're going to bet on Bubba, you're going to have to do it at DraftKings apparently because he's not even listed here at MyBookie. So shopping those odds, man, it's so critical even when you're just betting on a single race or a game in sports. But for futures, I think especially even more so important.
Just for fun, what does MyBookie have Ryan Newman at?
Well, Ryan Newman is a guy who we're going to get into here, actually, in Tier 4 of the preseason article I put together. I called it the Hail Marys, and he was my pick at 150 to 1. Ryan Newman can now be had for 100 to 1 at MyBookie.
Okay, so now DraftKings has insane value on Ryan Newman because he's 150 to 1 on DraftKings. So we're all over the place here.
Very interesting to see how these markets are moving at these different books.
Like Henry says, and he says it all the time during football and stuff too. Shop the odds, man. Don't just settle for one book. Like you should have money in 4, 5, 6 different books, especially if you're in a legal state.
100%. That is Jake's betting expertise shining through for us.
New York needs to get their heads out of their asses and legalize mobile sports betting for us. Get on that, Cuomo. You legalize pot. Let's do this.
Yeah, get your priorities right, Cuomo. Come on. Some other guys who were in this Tier 4. I'm not going anymore on Cuomo. I can't. It was a small tier before.
We know your feelings, Henry. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, some other people probably shouldn't. Tier 4 also included Chris Buescher at 200 to 1, the RFR teammate of Newman. Ricky Stenhouse. We talked about him being in the current field of 16 at 200 to 1. These were before the season began. Stenhouse is still at that same price. Buescher is longer. Wow. That is interesting to me that Buescher is now 250 to 1 compared to 200 to 1 before the season began.
300 to 1 on DraftKings.
Wow. And he was top 16 before this weekend, and he's 4 points out of a playoff spot right now.
I might need to take a quick drive down to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, for real. Some interesting prices here relative to what we've seen, I would say, for the first 7 races. So I guess it's not a bad thing we did this. How about McDowell? Daytona 500 winner, 300 to 1 here. Daniel Suarez is 500 to 1. And one other guy I'll just throw out for kicks, Chase Briscoe. Bit of a disappointing start to his rookie year in the Cup Series. He's 100 to 1 as they currently stand, and before the year was 80 to 1. So we've gone up there as well.
Some of these just literally aren't making any sense. It's like the bookmakers don't have no idea what they're doing. You said you have Michael McDowell at 300 to 1.
300 to 1, and he has a race win. So unless we get
he's 80 to 1 on DraftKings. Like there's massive discrepancy. Like massive discrepancies here. I don't understand how books can be that far apart.
Not really sure either, but I assure you, I am logged into my account, so I'm definitely.
Oh no, I trust. I mean,
updated odds.
yeah, I'm looking
I
at the
make sure of
DraftKings
that
now,
too.
I can't look because I'm in New York, so I can't. I don't even know if I can get through.
Well, that's why we got to get you set up on my bookie, Zach. Don't worry, we'll help you out after the show.
Or I need a VPN.
I've always considered a VPN, but I lose enough money. I don't need to pay for a VPN just to do it.
Busher, I think you said you like at 250 to 1 based on what we've seen out of him. Were there any other long shots? Like, would you throw down on McDowell? I mean, I don't know that we're considering him a championship favorite, but 300 to 1 in the futures market where you can kind of hedge your way out of that if you want to down the road.
I want to see a little bit more out of him, honestly. We said this.
How much
can I want to see more.
Dirt.
That's on dirt though. He won it Daytona. That's where I said anyone can win. He like a 7th after Miami. I said 7th is good, but this is I want to see more from him because like it's one race could be an anomaly. So
I'm looking up average finishes right now because I want to prove a point. He's still in the top 10. Average finish 12.3. 9th.
So he
How much can
could
show you, Zach? Come on.
Okay, let me look this up here and see where else he's finished besides the 4 races that we've talked about today.
So I've been doing a little research here, and it looks like my bookie might be the ones that are a little bit off their rocker because I just looked at FanDuel, DraftKings, and the Barstool Sportsbook, and they're all pretty much the same. They got Michael McDowell at 80 to 1 here as well. A couple others that we've talked about are matching DraftKings. So I don't know. I don't know who's setting the lines over there at my bookie, but a couple of them seem to be way off from the legal market space.
Probably a little more concerned with Formula One over there if I had to bet. So I'm not surprised that they are the ones who are off. That would have been my prediction. So good call there. Zach, did you have to add on McDowell here?
Actually, he's got better finishes than I thought he did. I thought he had some 30th place finishes, but no, he's actually been pretty consistent as far as top 20s go, which is normal for him. So, well, actually, it's better than normal for the front row motorsports. So maybe take a flyer on McDowell.
Thank you. That's what I was going for. Average finish, that should kind of clue you in that he's been finishing strong consistently. I think we've called out quite a few different names here. We got some value bouncing back and forth between the books, but
just bet them all, and you're bound to hit one of them.
Yeah, well, that is true. We got some lofty odds on a lot of them. So, hey, if that's your mood, go for it. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you not to. Guys, was there anything else that we wanted to talk about? I know we've kind of ran a little bit long. We had a lengthy recap. It was fun to get Jake's insight into Bristol and what he saw while he was down there. Chopped up some championship futures, some good talk there. Kind of looked at the standings a little bit. Anything else? Or are we set to roll into the bye week here for Easter?
Nah, I mean,
I was going to say, are we doing this extra segment?
I think we'll pass on it just because we've ran pretty long. So we'll fit that in some other time. Get you back on here
here. Hold on, we'll let him do his. We'll do ours next week. How about that? Does that seem? Because he looks like he wants to do it.
That's fair. All right. So we had to kind of come up with a little extra content this week, given that we don't have a race to break down. So what we were going to do is look at our most memorable races of all time, or most memorable, NASCAR moments or what have you, from our lifetimes as fans. So Zach and I will save ours for next week's show, and we won't have a recap to do, so that's perfect. Good thinking. But Jake is with us this week, so Jake, the floor is yours. What do you remember most passionately? I guess we'll say in all your years watching, following NASCAR, maybe not super close here and there, but you've been to some races. You've undoubtedly seen some good times. I'm sure it's not the washout you just had, but please enlighten us.
Well, I do have an all-time favorite race, and it's above all others. It's the Dynaco 400. Took place. It was the last race in the Piston Cup in 2006. A three-way tie between Lightning McQueen, Strip Weathers, and Chick Hicks. Ended up in a race-off out in L.A. It was electric. I could watch that race over and over and over. And in fact, I have watched that race over and over and over. So my favorite race of all time, Dynaco 400, 2006.
He's getting the block after this.
And that is the last time Jake Sunholz is on Burnt Rubber Racing. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Follow our lovely guest, Jake Sunholz, on Twitter, at SunholzOnSport. All kinds of betting information that he throws at you over there. He's a big NHL guy, so if you're looking to bet some hockey, for sure, hit him up.
Take the Lightning tonight. Take the Lightning tonight. I said it 2 nights ago. They lost. Take them tonight.
Are you saying that because of the segment we just had?
No, actually, no. That is serendipity right there. I didn't even think of that. No, I wrote an article, published it this morning. Take the Lightning in regulation tonight, guaranteed. There you go. That's the only hockey bit I'll throw out there.
We're off the rails here after.
Always. We're always off the rails. We always fumble this stuff.
Yeah,
I've been waiting all show. I planned that because I really don't have like many significant memories. So I planned to do that like over an hour ago when you texted me, Henry, and it's just been in the back of my mind. I've been like waiting to get it out. I thought I delivered it pretty well. So block me or not, I had fun delivering my joke. Thanks for letting me on, boys. I did have a good time.
Yeah.
It was good to have you for sure. So again, at SunholzOnSport on Twitter. Follow the show at Burnt Rub Racing. Follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow Zach at ZT McAdoo. Not sure you want to follow me. Zach, anything else that we need to throw out there?
No, I can't really think of anything.
Perfect. Enjoy the week off from racing. Kind of collect your breaths after the dirt race. You might need it if you got some dirt in your lungs. Happy Easter to everyone. Zach and I will be back next week to share our most memorable races and offer up a preview for normal short track racing at Martinsville. So this has been episode 7 of Burnt Rubber Racing. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.